All right, good evening, everyone, and welcome to the February 2026 February 26th of the 2026 regular board meeting. We call the meeting to order at 7:01 p.m. Tonight's roll call, we have Lori out, Rob out, Joe out, and Daniel out. Lori, they're all excused. Item number 1, adoption of the agenda. Can I get a motion to adopt?
Move to adopt the agenda.
Thank you, Linda.
Second. Thank you, Tiny.
All in favor? All right, it's unanimous. We have announcements tonight. I think I'll start out with the first announcement tonight. I'd like to announce that Joe Adams has submitted his resignation to the board due to his work commitment and possibly relocating commitment and some family issues. So he has sent his resignation into the board tonight. Do we have any other?
I do. I've got 2 announcements. One is Marina Moorage and Storage update. Quick reminder that Marina Moorage storage renewals and kayak rack rentals were due yesterday. If you're on the wait list, take a minute to visit the Sudden Valley website and check the recreation page. You can see exactly where you stand. And the fun news this year is that a few wet slip spots have opened up. If you've been hoping for one, this might finally be your year to snag a spot on the water. One more bright spot to share. After many years, our Sudden Valley archives finally have a safe, dry home. They've now settled in the old accounting offices downstairs in the clubhouse, where they'll be protected and much easier to access. It's a meaningful win for preserving our community's important documents.
Sure. Thank you. I'd like to thank staff, Linda and Tommy, and all their efforts and maintenance as well. They've been spending a lot of hours doing that, so I appreciate you guys' efforts in that. Any other announcements?
I have an announcement. I'd like to personally thank Tiny for having another very successful high tea. It's lots of fun to do. I volunteer all the time, but there was a really large group, I think even larger than last year, that attended, and it was really a very pleasant afternoon.
It's a fun event, and we're going to have another one in September.
Did you need to announce the spring?
Oh, there is a spring market coming up, and I didn't plan on
March 28th.
Is it March 28th, Joanne?
I'm sorry, I don't remember. Yeah.
Okay, I can check.
I know it's a little premature, but it's good to get around.
Yeah, it is coming up, so check the website, check your e-blasts. There is a spring market coming up, and if I can find it really quickly, I can tell you, but sorry, I didn't plan on saying anything about it.
Sorry. Didn't mean to put you on the spot.
Well, you did though. It's okay. It's coming up, so just check, and there'll be more information coming soon. Is that good enough?
Yeah, I know. I think that's great. It's good just to get it out there. Okay, very good. Any other announcements? Okay, hearing none. We'll move on to item number 3, property owner comments. Do we have any property owners that want to comment tonight? Please come on up. You know the routine, state your name, your location. And
I do, I know the routine.
you got 3 minutes.
Okay.
Make them count.
All right, thank you. Barbara Michelson Harder, 172 Polo Park Drive. Okay, so dog park.
Yeah.
Dog park. First of all, I read on the agenda that you're going to redo the tennis courts. I think that's great because they're not usable for tennis the way they are, so that's great. But the reason I came is as I've been told that there were 2 sightings of board members hanging around the dog park, and I just want to know if there's
We're not allowed.
Board of the dog park, they need to be on leash.
It's an off-leash area. We're allowed to be off-leash.
Not for the board of directors members.
Yes, ma'am.
Anyway, so, and based on past experiences, and basically I just want to know, is there anything being discussed? Was there a reason that everybody was out? Well, a lot of people were out there twice.
Yeah, I've actually been out there probably more than twice, and I can answer that real quick. So anytime we're doing, the issue, we're talking about actually improvements down there as well. So the tennis courts, we wanted to see about pickleball courts, we wanted to talk about basketball courts, we're talking about dog park fencing, we're talking about bringing the horseshoe pit back, and possibly, some issue with the volleyball court, making it more visible and easy to use.
Okay.
So there was a lot of things to discuss.
Okay, so dog park fencing, that's always a big issue. The people that go, let me just say for the record that the dog park is the second most used amenity for Sun Valley residents. I guess next to the golf course. So dog park attendees are really, they love their dog park. They love it, you know, the way it is. Fencing, I'm not sure what you had in mind. I know one time we talked about coming down the middle, which is really unacceptable. So I don't know if we're gonna talk about around the playground. And I hope that everything will be put before the community to be discussed before any decisions are made. One of the things that happened several years ago with another general manager, which was really great, he met with a committee of people that attend the dog park all the time, and he asked them what they want and what they need and what they're looking for, and it was really valuable. And so I would recommend that before anything is decided, that it's discussed with people that go to the dog park. Okay, and if you recall, the last time this came up, remember all the people that came?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So fencing, what are you talking about? Can you tell me?
Well, this isn't really a back and forth kind of thing. This is just used to stay your stuff. But quite honestly, it's been designed to be fenced for years and years and years. Our legal counsel has recommended that it be fenced just for liability issues. So we'll say this to music.
That was 3 minutes.
But when you say designed to be fenced, what, the whole dog park?
Well, that was what we're out there talking about. So just, yes, it has to be cordoned off from the general public. They're like at any dog park, so it's fenced, you know, a fenced area.
Okay. That would be a pretty big fence.
Yes, it would be.
Yeah. Just from using the dog park, most of the dogs, because it's so big, they pretty much stay.
That was the 3 minutes.
Oh, that was your 3 minutes, sorry.
Okay.
Well, we kind of, go ahead real quick.
Just from being out there, most of the dogs, they stay in the dog park. It's so big, they don't usually go outside of the dog park. I mean, it's such a big area that they.
Okay.
I can talk about this at a
Yeah,
later meeting, but
Yeah.
there is a whole other side to this. And I see the many complaints every year from people who don't have dogs and who want to enjoy that area and who get jumped on in the parking lot by dogs. So, there really are two sides which would, support your earlier statement to get feedback from the whole community.
Yeah, I think that would be really good. That would be really good. And I will say one more thing.
Quick.
Quick, and it'll be quick. If you look at it on an annual basis, the only time anybody wants to enjoy it, other than dog park people, is maybe 3 or 4 weekends in the summer. Maybe 3 or 4 weeks in the summer. But most of you guys were out there, it's a swamp.
Yeah, in the winter.
You know,
time,
so
yeah.
really, for most of the year, I would say, 7/8 of the year, it's just dog park people to go out there. So anyway, keep that in mind as well.
Very good, thank you.
Okay, thank you for hearing me today.
Did you want to come up?
No.
Oh, okay.
You just support?
Ditto.
Very good. Oh, we have someone
We'll
online.
keep it down.
All right, thank you. And Spencer, who's online?
I'm not sure, it just says Tina and Jimmy.
And they need to give their name, address, and so forth, just like they would be if they were here.
I let them talk, so.
Thank you, Barbara.
Tina and Jimmy, are you there?
We unmuted.
Yep.
I don't have a question. I was just logging in. Thank you.
Oh, thank you very much. All right, any other property owner comments tonight? Spencer, anyone else here?
Nope.
All right, very good. Thank you very much. We'll move on to item number 4. We have the approval of the meeting minutes for the February 12th 2026 meeting. Do you have any comments or corrections? If not, we'll make a motion to have those approved.
I'll second that.
Thank you, Tom. All in favor? That's unanimous. Very good, thank you. We have no reports tonight. We're going to continuing business, so committee business. I'll speak really quick on that. So due to Joe's resignation, Joe was on a couple of committees. And like I said, Joe reached out to the board right before this meeting tonight, and he's taken employment in another state, so it makes it very hard to try to be here. He tried via Zoom a couple times, but it was very difficult. So he first had to give up on a couple committees. So we'll talk about that now, and then also we want to let you. I'll let Linda tell about Rob. So go ahead, Linda.
Okay, I'm the other board member. I'm the board member on NNE. Rob resigned his chairmanship of NNE, and so right now that leaves us without a chair. I'm thinking that possibly I'm going to see if I can put a meeting together with the remaining members of that committee, elect a chair, and get us going, because with the resignation of Joe, whenever that happens and there's an announcement, it starts a 30-day window that needs to be left open for people to apply for candidacy for the board to vote on to fill the vacancy. Since this is 2/26, 30 days from that day would be 3/28, which is a Saturday. And I would suggest that we extend the opening until 3:30, which would be a Monday, and then we can close it during hours when the admin is open and stuff to handle that. But we plan on putting announcements online in the views and wherever we can to get the information out to people as soon as we can. And the applications will be available probably online. Joanne will put an online copy there for them to start to fill out starting tomorrow. However, I would remind you that we don't do online. You need to bring your written copy into the office and deliver it. That's all I have.
Very good, thank you, Linda. Tom?
Since you're short-handed, Linda, if you need an extra hand or something, I'll be happy to help you out.
I think we're gonna be okay.
Yeah, so that is one of the other things. So NNE already has five members, right? And that is the max, so we're good there.
And Rob is staying on the committee, I'm not sure.
Yeah, I think he made that clear that he would stay on. It's just I need to call a meeting and we need to find someone to chair the committee. There's other elected member on there that is serving because he's never been replaced, because we have very few members that during election time go for NNE. Everybody goes for the board, but they kind of leave NNE wide open. But I'll meet with them and see if we can't come to a consensus about what we'd like to do and get us a new chair.
Very good. Thank you very much. Any other committee issues tonight? Daniel's off tonight, so you want to talk
I do
about
have
safety?
a member to add to safety, but they can probably wait till the next meeting.
Okay, very good. Anyone else? All right, hearing none. Move on to continuing business. We have approval request for the Whatcom County stormwater easement for 101 Polo Park. Going out on page number 5 in your ream of paper.
So the purpose of this memo is to request approval of an easement granting Whatcom County the right to inspect the stormwater system that 101 Polo Park Drive will be installing in Sun Valley's right of way. The Board of Directors approved the easement on January 8th for 101 Polo Park Drive that will allow the homeowner to locate elements of their stormwater system on SVCA's right of way. Because Whatcom County may need to inspect the stormwater system, they require a second easement, giving them the right to enter both the homeowner's property and Sun Valley's right of way for that purpose. The requested easement, which was attached to the memo, is a boilerplate agreement that has been approved in the past by SVCA for other properties. Going forward, we will know that both these documents are required in specific situations, and we'll bring them forward at the same time. So I apologize for the double dip. but request that at this time, the Sudden Valley Board of Directors approve the proposed easement for 101 Polo Park Drive to allow access to Whatcom County for the purpose of inspecting the stormwater system.
All right, that's it. I'll read the motion. I move that the SVCA Board of Directors approve the proposed easement for 101 Polo Park Drive to allow access to Whatcom County for the purpose of inspecting the stormwater system.
Second.
Thank you, Tiny. Questions or comments? All right, hearing none, all in favor? Okay, that's unanimous. And next is approval request for the Area Z Garden Club license, and this is for Area Z only. I'll just state that quickly. And Joanne?
The purpose of this memo is to request approval of the revised license agreement between Sudden Valley and the Area Z Garden Club. The Board of Directors has been working with the Area Z Garden Club to develop a revised license agreement. When a revised document was presented to the board on January 22nd, the board had many questions about it. Those questions have been answered and the document was revised to address the concerns that were raised. A copy of the revised agreement is attached for review. The questions raised by the board were, why does the agreement refer to Plot 1 and Plot 2? Former General Manager Michael Bennett suggested to the Area Z Garden Club that they could expand their current site. The club did not think the suggested addition ground would be appropriate for gardening because it is wet for several months of the year. They agreed to put down a layer of wood chips on the proposed site and see if the quality of the ground improved after a year. At this time, the club does not want to take on the additional space. So accordingly, I took that part out of the agreement. The second question, why does the agreement include rules for the barn view garden? At some point, it may have been the intent to create a single agreement that would work for both garden clubs, but that is no longer the case. The agreement has been revised to remove the language that does not apply to Area Z. The last question, how many plots?
Apply to Area Z or barn view garden? Remove the language.
We were taking out the language that doesn't apply to Area Z, so the barn view stuff is out.
The barn view stuff doesn't apply to Area Z.
Okay, perfect.
Anyway, it's confusing. Since the club doesn't want to take on the additional space, they haven't developed a layout for it. So if the ground improves, the layout would be presented along with a request for that additional space. So that makes sense. So now that we've gotten it all sorted, I request that the SVCA Board of Directors approve the revised Area Z Garden Club license agreement.
So I'll read the motion, and then we can move on to discussion. I move that the SVCA Board of Directors approve the revised Area Z Garden Club license agreement.
Second.
Thank you, Linda. Any questions or comments about what has been done? All in favor? That is unanimous. Moving on to new business. We have capital requests for the bridge inspections, which can be found on page 35. Joanne?
The first capital request is for funding for the 2026 biannual bridge inspections. The Sudden Valley Community Association capital budget for roads includes $6,014 to complete bridge inspections by a certified bridge inspector. The inspections are repeated every 2 years following National Bridge Inspection Standards. SVCA's bridges were last inspected in 2024 and are due for re-inspection in this year, 2026. On January 14th, Turf Care Superintendent Greg Wadden reported a beam failure on the number 9 golf bridge that required an emergency closure. Golfer traffic was rerouted around that bridge. The need to assess and repair the damage to the number 9 bridge caused us to bring forward the timing of these inspections, which would otherwise have occurred later in the year. Sudden Valley has 4 road bridges and 8 golf course bridges that have to be regularly inspected. Integrity Structural Engineering completed these inspections in 2022 and 2024 and have submitted a proposal to complete inspections again in 2026. In 2024, the inspection fee was $5,561. This year, the inspection proposal came in at $6,976. The increase in price is due to SVCA's request that the inspector also create repair drawings for the 9th hole golf course bridge. 2 reports will be submitted to Sudden Valley, 1 for the 4 road bridges and 1 for the 8 golf course bridges. For these reasons, I request that the board authorize the spend of $6,976 from the 2026 capital budget roads for the required biannual bridge inspection.
Okay. Motion is, I move that the board authorize a spend of $6,976 for the 2026 capital budget roads for required biannual bridge inspection.
I'll second that.
Anytime you do that. Okay.
It's a race.
Any questions, comments regarding this? All in favor? Unanimous. All right, moving on to our next one is by the way, I just want to point out 1, 2, 3, and 4 were all vetted by the finance committee, correct, Gene? And you guys are in approval of those. So I just wanted to make that statement. I should have made that statement prior. All right, on to item number 2 is the turf care equipment on page 41. Joanne?
Purpose of this memo is to request funding to replace the following equipment: the 2012 Toro 5410 Reelmaster fairway mower, the 2012 Toro triplex greens mower, asset number 1076, the 2012 Toro triplex greens mower, asset 1303, and the 2019 True Turf greens roller, asset 1082. The 4 pieces of turf care equipment listed are scheduled to be replaced this year. I recommend that these items be replaced with John Deere equivalents, as they are of similar quality and less expensive than the Toros. Additionally, after sales and service for John Deere products is located nearby and is dependable. The existing units that are going to be replaced are listed in the table, and they have well exceeded their life expectancy with no residual value other than for private resale or scrap. The 2026 capital budget includes $234,000 for the replacement of this equipment. And we list out the equipment again, this time with the amount that was budgeted for its replacement. That's how we got to that total. 3 equipment suppliers were contacted to bid. 2 of them were considered for replacement, John Deere and Toro, as Jacobson equipment is now manufactured overseas and it's hard to get a hold of parts and service. The table on the following page compares quoted prices for John Deere and Toro. You can see that the John Deere equipment is of equal quality and comes in less, so we recommend that we purchase the John Deere equipment. So formally, I request that the Board of Directors approve $232,505.60 from SERF for the purchase of a John Deere 6500A fairway mower, 2 John Deere triplex mowers, and a Toro H11 green roller.
Thank you, Joanne. So the motion is moved that the SVCA Board of Directors approve $232,505.60 from SERF for the purchase of a John Deere 6500A fairway mower, 2 John Deere triplex mowers, and a Toro H11 greens roller.
Second.
Thank you, Tommy. Tom, you're too slow.
You didn't even try this time.
No, I didn't try this.
I think Linda tried.
Have any questions on these?
I just have a quick question.
Tommy?
I know there's been a lot of turf care equipment purchased over the last while. Do you know, like, have we pretty much rotated the equipment? Like, is it all pretty new now, or do they still have some old pieces laying around that are gonna need replacement?
There's an astonishing number of mowing devices because they have to get everything mowed before play starts in the summer.
Yeah.
And that's why we actually have another fairway mower. There are 2, and 2 are needed to get it done in the time allotted. They get up at the crack of dawn. It's crazy how early
I know.
they're here. So there are some pieces of equipment that are a little bit older, but you're right. Most of the equipment, except for some of the gators that they drive around, has been replaced. Most of the equipment has been replaced over the last 3 years. It gets used really hard though, so the equipment gets a lot of hours put onto it. It's like if you have a really long commute, your car gets high mileage, it has to be turned over faster, and so that's what's happening with turf care.
Linda?
I just wanted to say, I believe most of this equipment is from 2012. being the treasurer at that time, we had a different turf care manager, Jacob Close. And he found that by ordering, because the equipment was wore out, by ordering all at one time, even though it was a large amount of money, you get the best pricing from the companies that are pricing this stuff. And like I can say, we're below, not by much, but we're below our budgeted amount, which is really kind of remarkable.
Agreed. Thank you. Right, moving on to voting, all in favor? That is unanimous.
All right, moving on.
Next up is the 2026 road repairs. So the purpose of this memo is to request funding for the planned 2026 road repair projects. In February 2025, that's last year, the board approved $41,888 in funding for the design and permitting of road repair projects to be completed this year, 2026. Engineering was completed by Impact Design and permits are being submitted to Whatcom County. We are now requesting funding so that we can put the planned projects out to bid and complete the work during the construction window of June 1st through September 30th. The 2026 capital budget for roads includes 4 roads for asphalt repair: Appaloosa Court, Yearling Place, Misty Ridge Court, and Fields Park Place. In addition to these road repairs, the 26 budget identifies 24 culverts scheduled for replacement. One of these culverts, culvert 25, is a large box culvert, and the replacement budget is $594,880. Yeah, it's a lot of money. It's like the cost of a house. At this time, Impact Design and Sudden Valley staff agree that the condition of culvert 25 has not degraded since the 2024 inspection, and they recommend that Sudden Valley push off the replacement to 2030. The culvert will continue to be monitored by staff, and it will be re-inspected in 2028 as part of the 5-year renewal of the 10-year roads and drainage plan. The remaining 23 culverts are recommended for replacement as scheduled, and the budget includes $235,140 for that work. Drawings for the road improvements and culvert replacements are attached for reference. A separate engineer's estimate was not completed as the amounts in the 2026 budget were based on Impact Design's estimates in the 10-year roads and drainage plan, and we believe that these estimates are still valid. I request that the Sudden Valley Board of Directors approve the allocation of $428,714 from the Roads Reserve Fund for the completion of the 4 road repair and 23 culvert replacement projects proposed for completion in 2026.
Need a motion, I move that the Board of Directors approve the allocation of $428,714 from the Roads Reserve Fund for the completion of the 4 road repair and 23 culvert replacement projects proposed for completion in the year 2026.
Second.
I'm here, I'm gonna wake you up.
All right, this also was approved by the Finance Committee, just so you know. Any questions? We'll go Linda, then Tom.
I guess my question is, I understand that we're going from the numbers that we've gotten from the engineer on this. My question is, are we looking at possibly needing a change order to even get the work done? Because that's what's happened a little bit with some of the other projects.
I would say you wouldn't know that till we get the bids back, but.
Yeah, but I'm saying, so there's a chance that even though this is a large amount of money, we may well go over this amount by the time the bids come in.
That is possible.
Thank you.
Tom?
Yeah, could you give me an approximate location of culvert 25?
I haven't the slightest idea, I'm sorry.
It's close to 24. It's not, it's a whole other game.
Is it like a big map where they're all?
Yeah, but they're not ideal.
This doesn't include that map because we're not proposing it.
Isn't there another big one that's gonna be done this year besides that's down on Honeycomb?
Yes, that's the one that's been hanging because the county keeps coming back with different requirements for the permit.
Okay.
Greg?
Linda mentioned it going over what we pretty much planned on, and we get the bids and then they're way high. And, there's always a chance to downscope the
Yeah.
job to get to the budget, so we're not spending more.
Exactly, prioritize, yep, absolutely. Yeah, we won't know again until we get those numbers back, but you're right, once we look at those, we may change.
Just one general comment to make, and I've made this comment before to the community and you guys, is that the heavy rains that we had in December have proved the value of the work we've been doing on the culverts. And it's important to keep at it, but I don't think rushing is necessary, and that's why we're pulling back a little bit on that big culvert, because it hasn't changed. Even after that big storm event, the maintenance was quick to check it, and we've had engineers and others out, and it's good, it's not failing further. So it's older, but it's fine. And we're not taking the money out of the budget. As you can see, we're not trying to reallocate it to some other project. We're just saying, let's wait and see.
Good. All right, move forward to voting, all in favor? That's unanimous. All right, moving on to item number 4, the Clubhouse HVAC, Joanna?
Yes, unfortunately, this contributed, I think, the most to the size of the packet.
It definitely did.
The purpose of this memo is to request approval of SVCA's standard construction contract with Linden Sheet Metal for the replacement of elements of the Clubhouse HVAC system and the additional capital requests needed to address a shortfall in current funding. On August 28th of 2025, the Board of Directors approved funding in the amount of $147,752 for the replacement of the 2020 HVAC unit that serves the clubhouse. A portion of that funding was allocated to make temporary repairs to the current unit to keep it functioning through the winter. And just as an aside, those repairs were completed and the unit has performed all winter, so lucky us. Okay. On December 17th, 2025, P&W issued a bid package to 5 contractors for the replacement of the HVAC unit. And you can see them listed there. 2 of the 5 have elected to give us a quote. 2 decided not to bid, and 1 never answered us back. The bid package was attached to the memo, and it included 6 different amendments to accommodate changes in the original design that were made necessary by changes to building codes. Specifically, the type of refrigerant used in the original design is no longer allowed. So the changing the refrigerant required an additional design, and it raised the cost overall by about $45,000.
Wow.
So the funding that was approved last August included $100,000 for replacement of the unit itself, $25,000 for exterior work, trenching, asphalt patching, landscape repairs, etc., and $11,000 to pay tax. There was a $5,400 construction management fee for a total construction allowance of $141,400. After receipt of bids, the updated budget is $152,294.98 for the unit. That includes sales tax. We're putting in 5% contingency, $7,614.75. So we don't have to come back and ask for another couple $1,000s. Again, if that contingency is not used, there would be a residual in the project, which would then revert back to the fund at the end. The exterior work allowance remains at $25,000, and the construction management fee remains at $5,400. The total construction budget is now $190,309.73. So how are we going to pay for that? The board allocated a total of $169,928 for this project between 2024 and 2025. To date, we've spent $123,803.79.
23,000.
I'm sorry, yeah, it's 23,000, I'm sorry.
That's all right.
I was wondering what I was
Scared
missing.
today.
I was looking at the character and thinking, what does that mean?
Yeah.
It leaves $146,124.21 available for this project. Because the cost of the project exceeds remaining budget, I will ask the board to approve $44,186 in additional funds. This amount will be partially offset by $32,448 that is currently budgeted for the renovation of the old administrative offices in the clubhouse. So it's not completely offset, but it's mostly offset. So I request that the SVCA Board of Directors authorize $44,186 in additional funding for the replacement of the Clubhouse HVAC unit, capital project 9724.06. And I also request that the SVCA Board of Directors approve the award of this contract to Linden Sheet Metal and authorize the general manager to execute our standard construction contract.
Motion is I move that the SVCA Board of Directors authorize $44,186 in additional funding for the replacement of the Clubhouse HVAC unit, capital projects 9724.06. I also move that the SVCA Board of Directors approve the award of this contract to Linden Sheet Metal and authorize the general manager to execute SVCA standard construction contracts.
Second.
Okay, questions? Linda?
So you mentioned that we made a repair for it to operate over the winter. Was that amount also taken from this project? Because the only amount that is in here says that we took so much for design and permitting, but I wondered if all these numbers include, or where did we take that money for the repair then?
It was included in that design and permitting budget, and it was delineated in the original memo that requested it. I think it was about $8,000.
Yeah.
And those repairs were completed.
Yeah, just checking on that. The other thing I wanted to say, for me and to save paper, if we're doing just a standard Sudden Valley contract and there isn't anything, you don't have to make any amendments to it for the company, you don't have to add all these pages. It just adds a lot of pages. I think the board fully trusts that, and that you'd come to us if you needed to make an amendment to some.
Could have used that information a week ago.
I can definitely take it out. That contract is only 14 pages long. All of this is the many amendments that were issued for engineering and additional specs and all that craziness, so.
Okay, I just wanted to.
But I hear you, and I can take it out in the future.
Any other questions, comments? All right, this has also been approved by finance.
Mhm.
All in favor? That's unanimous.
It'd be good to have that project done. It's been hanging out.
Yeah.
Longer. All right, moving on to item number 5, Marina Tennis Court Refurbishment, page 163 in your Marina paper.
Okay, the purpose of this memo is to request funding for the first phase of the Marina Tennis Court Refurbishment project. The Marina tennis and basketball courts are in disrepair. The asphalt has major cracks, the striping is faded, the nets are in poor condition, and the fence needs to be replaced. The 2026 capital budget for SERV includes $348,401 for repair of the courts and $33,903 for the replacement of the fence. This project will include asphalt repairs, asphalt overlay with tennis court surfacing material as the top layer, layout and marking for 2 tennis courts, double stripe for pickleball and a basketball area, new fencing around the perimeter and between the tennis and basketball areas, and a new access path from the parking lot to the courts. Phase 1 of this project will complete design and permitting. Once design is complete, the project will be brought back to the board for complete project funding prior to being issued for bid. Construction is planned for this summer, which is why we're trying to sneak it in today. Phase 1 cost summary, $10,500 for engineering and permit application. That would go to impact design. Permit fees are estimated to be about $3,000. An allowance for surveying the property, $3,000. Project management from P&W, $2,700, which is a subtotal of $19,200. A 10% contingency with a total of $21,120 for phase 1. I request that the Sudden Valley Board of Directors authorize $21,120 in funding for phase 1 of the Marina Tennis Court Refurbishment project.
Motion is, I move that the SVCA Board of Directors authorize $21,120, in funding for phase 1 of the Marina Tennis Court Refurbishment Project.
Second.
Thank you, Tommy. Questions? Sean first, and then we'll go Ray.
I forgot to ask when they're out there, but are we replacing the basketball hoops or is it, are you saying the
Yes.
same? Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, gotcha.
I'm sorry, you didn't answer that. But that's exciting.
It didn't add much to the budget, but we are gonna
Yes.
replace the.
Oh, good, maybe it'll be quieter.
Joanne, you mentioned that, I was trying to find the verbiage, to, the resurfacing the tennis courts, and there'll be tennis and pickleball. Are we also resurfacing the existing pickleball court with the basketball? Was that second phase?
The whole thing is getting done.
Okay.
There will be 2 tennis courts and double stripes for pickleball. And then there'll be a basketball area.
So the existing basketball will become like a full court. So you have 2 actually like full-size regulation half courts that you could play on.
So we'll lose the
little one, yeah, and then the tennis courts become both optional, you could play tennis or pickleball. That's the plan right now. That could always change depending on pricing, right, like
Yeah, for sure, for sure.
And I think we talked about it, but it's kind of a semi-question and a semi-comment. There's gonna be a card reader, so,
Yes.
yes, so members can get in there for
courts.
free
That's
and,
great.
and protect the courts
Good idea.
and kind of keep some of the non-members out there.
Awesome.
We'll go with Jean and then Linda. Go ahead, Jean.
So I don't know how this compares to the
Oh, sorry.
price. Well, this is just planning, right? So we don't have the price
Correct.
to really do it. Okay, yeah, we had talked about, I had heard that the host out here might be coming loose from people raising and lower the nets, so I just, when it comes time to discuss that, make sure that we've got.
So the way this is planned right now, those will all be replaced because we're actually going to try to trim it down and make it a little smaller because we want to put an accessible path from the parking lot to the tennis courts where that water is right now. So you'll be able to get over there. Hopefully it'll be ADA compliant.
Right.
And so we'll take up some of the asphalt that's existing now and they're oversized considerably as a mitigation measure to allow us to add that path. So we won't be adding any more.
Okay, yeah, it was just the post I heard were coming loose because of raising and lower, right?
On the one here.
On this one here.
On this one here.
Oh, I'm
yeah.
sorry. I thought you were talking about over there.
And just another option to consider, I think the double courts are great, but again, you have to lower and raise those nets.
So, yeah, what
So
Jean's
the-
referring to is for regulation pickleball, the nets are a little bit lower.
They're lower.
Yeah, they're lower.
Sure. You could do 2 side-by-side pickle courts and a tennis courts on that. You have enough room to do that there. Side by side, they would be at 90-degree angles to each other, but it certainly would be doable. Then you'd have regulation, you'd actually have 2 regulation pickleball courts.
Interesting. That is actually probably something we should look at because that'll be a cost difference, right? So that could be like an alternative add to the bid to have the option to raise and lower those nets. For you hardcore pickleballers to need regulation.
Well, you know, that's just,
I wonder what the difference is in the net. Is it like an inch or 2? Do you know?
you know, I think it's about 3 inches.
Oh, it's that way.
Yeah, I think it's pretty decent.
Interesting. Didn't know that. We'll go Ray and then Tom.
There is a distinguished gentleman in Whatcom County that has a lot of money, and he likes to put in pickleball courts if they're regulation.
Oh, good to
Pickleball
know.
But he's
Pickleball
not
king.
going, and I know of him, he's gonna put pickleball courts in the community college that has money and pay for them if they're regulation, but the back and forth.
Oh, interesting.
I could ask, but if he's interested in funding us,
That'd be great.
That would be wonderful.
but they have to be regulation, he doesn't go for the up and down stuff, they have to be.
Yeah, so then you could do the 2, like Jean said, the 2 regulation and a tennis court
Yeah,
in between.
because it's a state sport, I mean, it's a big deal.
It started here.
Yeah, it's started here, it's
Yeah.
growing, it's huge.
Very good to know.
Yeah.
Tom?
Yeah,
Thank you, Ray. I
Just a
appreciate
comment
that.
on that, would that require us to open those pickleball courts to the community? outside of Sun
Also,
Valley.
yeah, the
Well, they're
outside-
all open, anyways, if they wanted to have to go in and register to admin, get a card reader.
Yeah, I'm
pay,
just wondering what his requirements.
Yeah, yeah.
He might have something
Oh.
different.
We didn't find that out, but he's doing it through the community college.
Yeah, I can't go to the.
No, he can't go out there at this point.
And the second thing, based on Gene's comment about the post problem, I remember back when Rick was here, and that problem started right after we redid those tennis courts. One of the posts started coming up. He said that was covered by warranty.
Correct.
Yeah, we're currently working with the company that did that install to get it fixed.
Okay, great.
Any, Linda?
I just,
I'm
after
sorry, I
looking
didn't know
at
you.
all the different, what we went through with the rec corridor ones, I just, once again, I worry about overruns. I think we spent around 21,000 to do, I think, or was it 7,000? We had to do a drainage around that one, and that we won't have, but we'll still have the added amount that we had to add for the card reader and the electrical, et cetera, et cetera. That's all.
Yeah, it helps that we're asking for all of it in the original, initially.
Yeah.
Also, the courts it's smaller.
That's another reason why I wanna try to shrink them down to not make them too ridiculous, but actually get some cost savings in that. The overlay is expensive. Gene?
I just don't know, I mean, these courts out here, I'm assuming are floating up just fine, if there's anything that we're learning from these courts, just wanna make sure we're thinking about it when we're building the new courts. Like, I don't, other than the post that I heard were coming loose, I don't know, I haven't actually been on the court, so. just
There's been degradation to the asphalt
Yeah.
and cracking, and that's what's being repaired.
Right,
So, yeah, and that's why we have to have an engineer go over it and mark the areas of asphalt that need to be completely cut out and replaced as opposed to just overlaid. So it sounds like, 10 grand, what engineering is there to a slab of asphalt? Like, really?
No, yeah.
Well, but that's actually what it is. They're gonna survey it, look at it, and identify how much of it needs to be cut out and rebuilt.
Tom?
Yeah, the only issue that I've heard of, other than the post coming out, is net heights.
that's fine, yeah, and they're related probably.
I don't know how we resolve that.
I think what gets expensive though, it isn't so much the asphalt, it's that ultimate top layer of overlay that's so ridiculously expensive, it isn't just asphalt, correct?
That is
This one
correct.
is, yeah.
Yeah, I think.
Because there's only
special
one
service.
contractor in our area that does it, you have to drive up from Oregon.
You got a niche in the market.
There you go, there's a franchise or someone.
Yeah, no kidding.
All right,
Do concrete and green paint.
we'll move on to, voting. All in favor? That's unanimous. Okay, our last, oh, it's not our last, is it?
Next
The next one is funding for revision of the SVCA bylaw on page 169, Joanne.
Yeah, the purpose of this memo is to request funding for legal support of revisions to SVCA's bylaws and rules and regulations that are needed to bring these documents into compliance with Iowa changes to Washington state regulations that govern HOAs. On July 1st, 2018, the Washington Uniform Common Interest Ownership Act, RCW 64.90, took effect. Best known by its acronym, WCIOA, this legislation replaces the Homeowner Association Act that formerly governed SVCA. Even though this law was passed in 2018, it did not immediately affect SVCA because it did not apply to HOAs that were formed before the law took effect. Some of its provisions became effective for SVCA in July 2025, however, and a few more will take effect on January 1st or have taken effect on January 1st of this year. On January 1st, 2028, 2 years from now-ish, the remaining provisions of WCIOA will take effect, and the transition envisioned by the Washington State Legislature in 2018 will be fully implemented. On February 12th, the board adopted a resolution that affirmed to our community that SVCA's practices comply with the legal requirements for HOAs. SVCA's bylaws and rules and regulations provide members and staff with instructions, for how to live in and manage the association. If these instructions don't align with current practices of the association, significant confusion will result, as we are all experiencing now about the N&E committee. Changes to the bylaws must be approved by a vote of the members. SVCA proposes to revise the current bylaws so that they align with Kiowa provisions in time to present the revisions to the membership for voting at the 2026 AGM. Because the rules and regulations must align with the bylaws, this document must also be revised. SVCA's legal counsel, Richard Davis, has estimated the time he will need to draft revisions and then work with our document review committee to achieve a bylaws document that is both compliant with state law and customized to the needs of Sun Valley. His estimate was $7,500 for this work. To ensure that there is enough funding to cover revisions to the rules and regulations also, I'm requesting $10,000 in funding from the undesignated reserve fund. I request that the board of directors authorize $10,000 from the UDR fund to be used for costs arising from the revision of SVCA's bylaws and rules and regulations documents.
All right, the motion is, I move that the SVCA Board of Directors authorize $10,000 from the UDR fund to be used for costs arising from the revision of SVCA's bylaws, rules, and regulations documents.
Second.
Thank you, Tom. Questions, comments? Hearing none, all in favor? That's unanimous. Okay, our last one is approval request for the, oh no, we just did one. No, we didn't.
Yeah, change
Approval
the rules.
request, yeah, for the rules and regulations revisions, page 171. Your package.
So the purpose of this memo is to request board approval for proposed changes to the rules and regulations. This is not to do with the bylaw, okay? SVCA's current rules and regulations includes two different sections that can be applied to properties that are deemed to be unsightly, unkempt, cluttered. Sections 1.11 and 2.1 seem to be duplicative. I tried to research why both sections were considered necessary, but could not find any information in our files. My best guess is that section 1.11 refers to developed lots and 2.1 refers to undeveloped lots. If that is the case, then the apparent duplication makes sense. The two sections call for different timelines for abatement, and they have different fine structures. The table that I included in the memo compares the current elements of the two sections. And it goes on. Sorry, this is what I deal with on a daily basis. Okay, so the first proposed change is perhaps moot. Because section 2.1 refers to property without clarification that it refers to an undeveloped lot, it is unclear which section applies to properties that have trash, building materials, or other debris stored in the open. By changing property to undeveloped lot, differences between the two sets of instructions for abatement, timeline, and penalties seem more logical, and it is clear which instruction should be used for different situations. I would also like to add the discretionary clause to the second section to ensure that there is parity in approaches to penalties. And that clause basically says, it's on page 172, and it's at the bottom, and it says discretion. The implementation of penalties may be delayed for a period of up to 10 days by the general manager or their designee upon a showing of a substantial effort to comply with the corrective or necessary action orders for houses or structures, or 5 days for vehicles starting the day following the final date by which corrective action was to have been completed. So if we offer that for developed lots, I think we should offer it for undeveloped lots as well. And it would help us to avoid a lot of unnecessary appeals as well. The third proposed change is regarding the fines. The undeveloped lot fines are capped at $250 for the first occurrence and $500 for each subsequent occurrence. So that seems fairly reasonable, but there is no cap for the developed lot fines. Instead, the fines continue to increase based on the time taken to bring the property into compliance. If the violation is not abated for 30 days, the total fines assessed would be $6,000. Continuing to wait for the homeowner to correct the issue, however, has not led to good outcomes, despite the threat of significant fines. adding the right to cure language from section 2.1 to section 1.11 would give the association the ability to fix a situation that is deemed hazardous or that has not been fixed after the 30-day period. So specifically, what I'm talking about is the language that says, where no action has been taken after 30 days following notification of the owner, 48 hours in the event of a potential physical or health hazard, SVCA may arrange, perform, or contract any work necessary to correct a violation of this section, whereupon the owner shall be billed for the expense. And then what I did was to show the changes in context. Now there's an important amendment to even my revisions that needs to be made, and thank you, Linda, for finding that. But you can see section 1.11 is about disorderly houses, and talks about abatement, goes on and on, penalties for violation. And then the first change proposed is on page 176, where you can see that I've inserted that right to cure clause. So basically that gives Sudden Valley the right, if warnings are disregarded and the timeline is exceeded, that we have the option, it's not saying we have to, but we have the option to go in and complete the work ourselves and then charge that against the account. Okay. Now I'd like to point out that while that sounds reasonable, that could be abused, because we also have a set of rules around our collection policy that allow us to continue up to and including foreclosure on a property if an account is not brought current. Let's say that a house has black mold on the siding. Siding a house, depending on the size of that house, could be 10 or 20 or more thousands of dollars. Would we exercise this right in that situation? Well, I wouldn't, because of exactly what would happen, right? We would do the work, we would be accused of trying to use it to gain possession of that house. But I'm just saying that while it sounds reasonable and it would make the two sections have parity, there's a big difference between taking a bunch of old debris off of an undeveloped lot and then potentially going in and curing a developed lot. So that's something to think about, okay?
Would anyone have the right to appeal?
Of course, everyone has the right to appeal any fine, or any fine applied to their.
And if it goes into foreclosure, that even longer period of time exists for them to.
That's correct. And at any time, Sudden Valley has a policy of ceasing collections if we enter into a payment plan agreement. So our policies are actually very flexible to accommodate different individuals, but I'm just pointing it out because you have to look at all sides of it.
So, okay, so my question would be, say we just use black mold, since that's what you brought up, so if someone's house is covered in that, we're gonna go out and fix it because they can't. Can they appeal that before it's taken on by Sudden Valley? Could they go to the appeals committee, and then maybe every circumstance is different, right, why that may happen? And can something be handled that way before Sudden Valley would go out and do anything?
Well, I picked that example on purpose because it's big, but it also is a public health hazard. So remember, we have like a 5-foot setback. So do you really want your house to be 10 feet away from a property that is not doing anything to address the black mold that's growing on their property, on their siding? That's tough, right? But the rule is a much more basic guideline. Our practice or our procedure or policy could include timelines for when these things happen. So we don't have to address it tonight, but you could direct me to come back with a proposal that included such a period for appeal.
15 days.
Or whatever was appropriate. And I'll do a graphic timeline, if you like, that would show the different warnings that happen at different times. And then give people the right to, come in and talk and negotiate around it.
But even if you're talking about undeveloped lots, there was that, just I think last year, there was that one lot where the tree was leaning and the owner lived out of the country.
Yeah.
And trying to get in touch with somebody to go, hey, this is a deadfall, a large deadfall that threatens a neighbor's house. you know, and luckily that was resolved, but it was a little bit of with that.
Well, yeah, Washington State takes timber very seriously, so to take another person's tree, it's like taking their horse in the Old West, you can practically be rich.
Tom?
Yeah, my only concern, I don't know if there's a way we can marry these two sections together, but my concern is the word discretionary. I think we have to be consistent with everything. You know, if we get too many discretionary decisions, we get discriminatory accusations.
Yes, that is an absolute possibility. And the way that I address that, because it's really the liability, if the general manager is the one who exercises the discretion. So it would be on me or anyone in my position that the accusation of bias would fall. And so I have clearly laid out policies which I share with our compliance manager, which is that if any homeowner calls in to engage in a conversation, we'll stop the timeline. Because they're engaging with us, they're showing a willingness to resolve it. So we immediately stop the timeline and talk to them about what's possible. For small things like relocating an RV, I've given people 8 weeks. They've called back and I've given them another 4 weeks. Because I'm on a waiting list, I was told I'd get a slot in June, it's now May. Can you give me another few weeks? Sure, because they're working with us.
Yeah.
Agreed.
Yeah, so we're not draconian, but we often fall into these situations where we send letters and calls and emails to people and they completely ignore us and their violation continues. And it's extremely frustrating for their neighbors who have to look at trash in the yard, feeding of animals, attraction of rodents, dilapidated properties, overgrown vegetation. And that's not what you sign up for when you come into an HOA. So we do need to have some teeth in there, right? So it's tough.
Yeah, I get it.
Any other questions? All right.
So one other thing, on page 177, Linda pointed out that the title for section 2, use and maintenance of separately owned property, should remain. And in section 2.1, we should keep that reference to property, because sections 2.1.6 and forward, after that, following, refer to all properties developed and undeveloped. So if we keep the changes in 2.1.1, 2.1.2 through 2.1.5, where we say undeveloped lots in all those instances, that's fine, and we don't need to change the title. So the two changes at the top of page 177 would go away. We would keep the changes in 2.1.1, 2.1.2. Okay, so there are 3 changes proposed. Making section 2 apply to undeveloped lots in just those 5 sections. Adding the discretion to the cleanup of undeveloped lots in section 2, and potentially adding the right to cure in section 1.11. So if you guys don't want any one of those, then we have to split them up. But if you're okay with all of them, then there can be a single vote to approve.
Well, what if we want to add the idea of giving a table of time limits?
That's a separate, you could approve this and then I'll bring that back.
Exactly, so
So that would be a separate motion, or just a direction.
yeah. All right, so I'll,
Well, does anyone have any objections to any of the 3?
no.
You know what I wrote, Joanne,
Yeah.
a long email today to explain why both the 111 and the 2.1, the titles of both of those, they both talk about undeveloped and developed.
Right, and we agreed that in section 2 and 2.1, those ones that we're gonna keep instead of changing, so I've written "stead," which is editor's language for keep in place. We're gonna keep those, and then it's the other 3 changes that we discussed.
All right, so I'll read the motion. I move that the SVCA Board of Directors approve the proposed changes to the rules and regulations and the addition of the fine described in section 1.11 and 2.1 to SVCA's fees
And fine.
fees seven,
Fees and
and
fines.
fees and fine
And
schedule.
second,
All in favor? Yeah, that's unanimous. At the same time, we want to direct the general manager to come back with the timeline table where we can.
Show the process.
Yeah, exactly, show our process. Great. So we're not just. All right, very good. All right, this time, we're good, that's it. We're gonna move into closed session at 8:06. Get a motion to move into closed session. For second, we're going, perfect. All in favor? At 8:06 p.m.
Okay, did Linda move it and you second it?
Yeah, that's
Okay.
how. All right, coming out of executive session at 8:32. No action taken. Call to make a motion to adjourn the meeting at 8:32.
Second.
Thank you, sir. Meeting adjourned.
second.